Nerd fam, and welcome back to fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. We're here kicking off the year at CES 2026. My name's Savannah Peterson. Very excited to have a return guest on the show with me this time, Chris from Arm. Chris, I love Arm, and you guys are doing so much cool stuff. I'm very excited about this conversation. Before we get rolling, what's the coolest thing you've seen at the show so far?
All right, well, first off, Savannah, happy 2026 to you as well.
Thank you.
Wow, you hit me out of the blue. Coolest thing I've seen, oh man, I gotta think about this.
Because you kind of get a preview of everything because Arm's in so many things.
Okay, I'm gonna go with one of the cool things. So Samsung is demonstrating a TV that is AI enhanced. So when you actually watch soccer, it focuses on the ball and makes sure that you can see it better when you're watching soccer on a Samsung TV. And it's just, you know, one of these things that you would, sounds interesting, right?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, and it's a different lens through which to think about things. So you and the team very much at the front of the helm, bringing our AI to the physical world and very much at the edge. So many devices powered by Arm here at the show. First thing I'm just going to say, you know, I should be sending you a bill because I bought my glasses as a result of you. And when we chatted at Mobile World Congress last March, you were telling me what a popular product it was, and 60% of retail stores in Europe, #1 seller, correct, if I recall?
That was correct, yeah.
Yeah,
in Ray-Ban stores.
I bought them. I am obsessed with them. Literally my favorite piece of technology in the last 10 years, and it's all your fault. No, they're great. I love them. So much utility, and I pick up my phone less, folks. So that's what really matters. So talk to me about some of the other products that are pretty famous that people might not realize are powered by Arm.
Pretty famous, wow.
We got some back here too.
Yeah, we've got all kinds of cool picture, examples here. We've got the Switch 2, which has obviously been a very successful product last year. Hopefully you got your hands on it before Christmas. This is actually a fun product, the Next Playground.
It's
this
cute,
is
too.
a cute little, it was actually, I think it was sold out on Amazon for most of this year for Christmas. But it very much is a fun family gaming experience where it uses the camera, uses the Arm GPU and CPU to basically, allow you to play, and you play with no controller. So, kind of some of the things that Wii would have started, Nintendo Wii, but kind of now in a different playful thing. We've got all of the Meta examples. Actually, Meta, beyond the glasses you are wearing, also introduced in September glasses that actually start having a display. And one of the coolest things about that, and I think, was they introduced a neural band. And that neural band actually is sensing basically your neurons in your wrist as you're moving your fingers so you can start doing UI. And that's actually enabled by Arm Ethos-U, which is our NPU. And so another example of Arm-enabled capabilities.
So that's very cool.
Lots of fun things. And then this is Jensen's supercomputer on your desk, a petaflop of supercomputer, again, Arm-powered. With their GB10 platform. So those are really cool examples.
Yeah, so I would imagine almost every product that Jensen referenced in the keynote to start the week, you're a part of, or at least a significant portion
Anything
of
with the CPU, yes. I mean, I think they were talking about Vera Rubin. They were talking about obviously what they're doing with their networking and all that kind of stuff. Our partnership with Nvidia has been super strong, and they're, it really comes from, in this AI world, the blending of computing and acceleration, right? And you can see that across any of these devices. I mean, that is fundamental to what Nvidia has done with us, starting with Grace Hopper and kind of moving forward. It's the same thing that's happening, in these endpoints, right? In these cell phones that have, an Arm CPU, an Arm GPU, and also a NPU. It's really that heterogeneous computing, and how are we using that to further acceleration of what's possible on AI.
Yeah, and it's not just AI. When you have those three working together, you can optimize your battery life in a different way. You can really optimize every feature and action that happens on that phone, rather than just draining from the same thing all at once.
Correct, and it's also a different developer experience, right? I mean, I think one of the things that, there's a lot of different computing elements that we can create. And AI has really pushed the envelope of that, because what it needs from computing and also what it needs from memory bandwidth is really challenging. But one of the biggest challenges is actually programming AI. We've done a lot of things in the CPU because in the CPU it's super easy to program, and our things like our V9 SME architecture and our matrix extensions that are available now in really all of the leading smartphones in the premium smartphone space, both across iOS as well as Android. But it also, is how do you program these other things? How do you program GPUs? How do you program NPUs? And so that's something we're very focused on. We have over 20 million developers now programming on ARM. And so
awesome.
We're really trying to figure out how do we accelerate those AI use cases.
That's about 2/3 of the developer community, isn't it? Maybe more. I think so.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know those metrics.
I think just so the audience realizes just how impressive that is. It's a very significant portion of that community. And I know it's actually more than half. I think I looked it up the last time I talked to you. So let's talk a little bit about what some of the benefits humanity is going to get as a result of AI at the edge. What are some of the solutions that are getting you excited or that you've been able to work on that you like a lot?
Wow, there's so many different vectors there. I mean, I think a lot of it is making more intelligent devices and just making devices that become so essential to us. You talked about your phone and now you're concerned about it's too essential, right? Too much screen time. One of the examples that I like to use around AI is around touch, right?
Yeah.
So, if you go back to, I think it was like 2008 or so was when Apple introduced the iPad. It was really the kind of first mainstream device that was touch. Well, now, kind of everyone expects almost every screen to be touch. If you give a 10-year-old, child a screen, they start touching it. If it's not touching, it didn't do anything, they give it back to you, right? That's what they expect, right? And I think just the way touch evolved, the way that we interact with electronics, you're going to see the same thing with AI. That's the expectation. This is going to be more intelligent. It's going to do the right thing. You can interact with it in ways. You can ask questions with, to it around things that, traditionally you would only be able to ask a human, let's say.
Yeah.
And even the answer probably comes back a little bit more intelligent than maybe what a human would answer. In most cases, hopefully.
I guess it would depend on who you're talking to and what the exact use case is. But I think that's interesting. So do you feel like 2026 is going to be a bit of a linchpin for the physical AI world where we start to see more of these products at scale out in the wild? Do you think we're still kind of in POC land?
Well, I think about kind of two categories of products, right? So there's the existing products that we use today are essential in our everyday life. How do we make AI make that experience better, right? Whether it's your phone, my Samsung TV example, right? Watching TV, make it a better experience, right? Then I think the other part of AI is enabling a whole set of classes that don't exist today, right? The neural band I mentioned about Meta, that's a great example of that. I mean, in fact, I kind of talk about AI as enabling kind of a renaissance of wearables. Because just like you talked about how important this device is, we're starting to interact with these devices now, and it gives you capabilities in these wearables that wasn't possible. So I think there's two categories, and let's be clear, I mean, some of these new things that people are trying, like out here on the floor, some are going to be the next big thing, and some of them are going to be forgotten or made fun of in the future.
Yeah.
But it's an exciting place to be, and that's why I love my job. I get to play in all these different areas.
Yeah, you definitely have a very cool job. The wearable game, I think, is really interesting because wearables have been around for a while. Well, not even just going back to watches, but in the consumer technology space, that's kind of one of the categories that remains consistent across every CES that I've been at. But one thing that I think is different now is folks are really thinking about the design, the aesthetic. The most interesting, the most fascinating part about my glasses, beyond my screen time dropping from 5 hours a day to 31 minutes, not even kidding you.
That is amazing.
It's amazing. Never done anything better for my mental health, I think, in my life than buy these glasses. But the funny thing is, I get so many compliments on the glasses.
Yeah.
People just think I'm wearing normal glasses because they're designed by Ray-Ban, because companies are working with brands who have been in these spaces for a lot longer, or like that's why when they're working with you on their architecture and their compute, you've been doing this for a long time. You know the best architecture for the different use cases, different devices, different environments even from that point. And so I think what's really cool, I think part of why we're seeing that renaissance is we finally realized that if we're going to put it on our body, it needs to look good. Like, I feel like there's a lot less of the Franken gadgets that we used to see at CES. The early day wearables when it was like a whole arm cuff, and you're thinking, on what planet? Or even Google Glass. Not to throw Google under the bus, they designed a cool piece of tech that nobody wanted to wear because it looks super dorky. So there's this kind of cool thing, and I feel like ARM is in so many products that people touch and interact with on a daily basis. What do you think is one of the more this is a good question for you. What's one of the more unexpected areas that you're seeing really integrate and innovate with AI right now?
You're asking me all kinds of questions you didn't prepare me for.
That's kind of the point, Chris. I know you can handle it.
No,
Because you guys get to work with every vertical. I mean, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I think probably is a lot of the things that people want to do around biometrics and stuff like that, right? Because I do think that the one interesting thing is once we wear these devices, then there is a whole different amount of data that's being able to collect it. And of course, there's a lot of sensitivity of that data. But as we've seen, whether you're an AI critic or an AI believer, I think one of the areas that clearly AI has made a difference in is medical diagnosis, right? And reading X-rays, reading MRIs, all those kinds of things. You're now going to have all this additional data that is available to you, and you do have a lot of things that start showing signs of both of critical parts of your health. So I think what's I get passionate about is how that could change people's lives, whether it could cause early detection. I mean, we obviously see our watches can do different things today. EKGs was a thing, some pulmonary stuff. I think just what we don't realize is once you are convinced to wear these things, what all the second and third degree effects will be.
Yes.
And of course you need to have power over that data and all those kinds of things, but it really can make a difference, I think, to folks in the quality of life.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, you even just look at something like fall detection when that became a part of wearables, and the amount of lives that saved, or the discomfort that has saved. It's pretty incredible. I was chatting when I was talking to Will on your team yesterday, saying we're basically going to have wearable data centers almost to a degree. It's obviously an exaggerated example, but you're going to have the same level potentially in terms of privacy with your data and personal security that you would have had to otherwise have in the cloud or somewhere else because you couldn't have, or on-prem with somebody else's stuff, because you wouldn't have had the ability to do the processing there. You wouldn't have had the intelligence on your wrist. It would have just been a vehicle for it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that as a technology industry we need to be super sensitive to, because this is super powerful, but it needs to be something that also meets all the security requirements. And that's why, one of the things that ARM gets to do is, because we are such a prevalent computing platform, we work with all of the leading operating systems and platforms on really having amazing security. And in fact, our new V9 architecture, we're taking security just at its station and all kinds of things you can do to really be able to give that capability at the building block level of really complete trust. And then it's going to be up to how people build on top of that. But I agree with you. I think it is going to be very interesting and to see how that evolves. Yeah,
no, and trust, it's nice you bring up trust. Trust has definitely been a big theme of the show. You can tell that the hype and the excitement about all this stuff, we want to know that it's going to work. We want to know that it's secure. We want to know, this is where I think it's an interesting opportunity for ARM. They want to know that there's a trusted partner inside of that isn't going to be easily hacked, or isn't going to, because the nefarious side of things can use AI just as effectively as we can. So it's kind of it's quite the, it's going to be an interesting challenge in our time moving forward. Last question for you. When we're hanging out at CES 2027,
next year, okay.
Yeah. What do you hope to be able to say then that you can't yet say today? I realize I really didn't take it easy on you today.
No, that's okay. I'm quite confident that we're going to be able to show, I think that, we talked about, people talk about edge AI and why are you going to do computing at the edge? And I think that, as I mentioned earlier, the companies that are running AI in the cloud are the ones that are most committed to wanting to run as much of that at the edge as possible. So I think we're just going to have more proof points relative to how much edge can run at AI can run at the edge.
Yeah.
And then how that works in complement with the cloud. So I think that would be the thing that I hope that I can give you some really cool. We'll have some new boxes here. With some cool products to show you.
Well, definitely, and it's going to be those experiences that really make AI real for the general consumer market, or for the broader world. You know, us geeking out and doing stuff, they're going to notice if there's latency to our earlier conversation, or if something isn't responsive, and if they think it's been over-engineered because there's AI inside, they're not going to review that fondly.
I mean, look, we know that AI was on an early hype cycle, right? And in some, there are some really killer use cases, and there's some amazing ones out there. But in general, has it been earth-shattering for the general public? Maybe not. But I think we'll continue to build more and more confidence. People will be. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, and people were like, "Why am I going to carry a smartphone all the time?" And that just sounds like a silly question now. Or talking about the privacy thing. I mean, remember when the fact that you brought a camera into anywhere was like unheard of, and companies
was staring at you.
How can these phones have cameras, right? I mean, these are the merger of technology and psychology and human interaction. That's something that can be bumpy at times, but we always figure it out, and I think we're going to do the same thing with AI.
Yeah, well, I look forward to talking about those new products that you'll have next time at CES 2027. Chris, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for making the time.
Thanks,
Savannah. Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank all of you for hanging out and nerding out with us at CES 2026 here in Las Vegas, Nevada. My name is Savannah Peterson. You're watching theCUBE, the leading source for enterprise tech news.